with 25% forgiveness of the loan on it, and I'm bringing it to the people. And we've had one meeting with the people in Quail Run. We had a meeting this week with the residents of Melbar, and I'm telling them all, it's up to them. I mean, it's not something the city says you've got to do, anything like that. It's if the residents wants it, here it is. But at some point down the road, we all know what's going to happen when you got houses closed together and you got sewer or septic system. You're going to have a problem. We got 122 on the northeast side of town homes that do not have it, and we're working with each subdivision to do those things. Well, that's just planning and just what the things you're saying, standards that you should have in place, and those are things that you have to have, and professional management would bring those type of things to the table and cause those to happen.
You talked a little about commission government, and maybe it doesn't fit the modern reality of running a $40 million a year business like the city of Marion. But and you think it should be studied, what are some of the things that would be a better alternative to that?
Well, look at alderman form of government. Commission form of government, every 4 years, you elect all 5 members, 4 councilmen, 1 mayor. Alderman, you have 7, and you split it. You don't let, everybody's not new at the table, or potentially new. So, I mean, and and then you go to management form of government, is what you call it, and that requires a professional person who's in charge of the city, who reports to the board of directors, and you set the policies, and they run the city.
City manager?
City manager form of government.
Would that keep the mayor position?
Oh, well, yeah, it doesn't change that, no. It just puts the responsibilities in a little different place.
Do you think that's something that should happen, or do you?
I think that's something that people should consider doing. But that requires the people voting on it and that to be caused on it.
Can Bob Butler be beaten in an election in Marion?
Pardon?
Can Bob Butler be busted in an election in Marion?
Oh, that's up to the people.
Okay.
I mean, it's for the people to decide. I know this is an interesting campaign. He's hired a professional campaign manager to run his campaign. We run our campaign. I'm a pretty low budget type person. I run my councilman campaigns for about $200 and some. I didn't believe in taking money from anyone to run them. You look around town and you'll find it interesting. On this one, we have taken money from a few people to do what we're doing. We're doing some direct mailing and a little different advertising and things, and a lot of door-to-door and and phone calls. And so, but it's up to the people. I mean, in America, it's a great thing. I mean, look what's going on in the Middle East. We're just blessed to be where the people have the opportunity to make the decision, and sometimes we make good decisions and sometimes we make not so good decisions, but there's always another day if they don't like what they get the first time.
Talk a little about the number of TIF districts in Marion, and Marion kind of stands alone in that regard. Most of the cities in southern Illinois either don't have a single TIF or they have one. And Marion has a number of them. Is that good? And how does that figure into the lawsuits that crop up with Marion?
Well, when you look, are TIFs good? I think TIFs are necessary. Look at the state of Illinois. Be realistic. You guys put the report out. I read your business journal. And you look at what the state number is and what's happening to them, the decline in business in the state of Illinois. I mean, we're not the most friendly state in the United States. And you look at what happens, and I don't think without TIFs and incentives, you're going to grow. I mean, I don't see how you get people to invest money in here. And have they all been done 100%. We hired an independent audit here 6 months ago and had them audited on our own just to look at what they're doing. We found a couple of minor errors where some TIF money had been spent for a parking lot that was outside the TIF to have it repaved. We put the $90,000 back in that TIF to clear it up. Would the schools grow at 144% in Marion? I don't think so without the TIF, the EAB. I mean, look at Williamson County. What's going on? The levied taxes in Williamson County last year were $66 million. That was the levies. Would they have been able to levy 66 million? They said, well, you're sitting on the interstate. Effingham's sitting on the interstate. Mount Vernon's sitting on 2 interstates. I look at their school systems. I look at their tax levies and everything. You know, give me a break. You know, you got to be honest with yourself. What causes this? It's just like the star bonds. Look how much money we're getting ready to pump. We're putting 2 1/8 cents of our sales tax into that star bond for anything that's developed up there. Is there anything going up there yet? Not yet. You know, there's a lot of companies studying it and everything. The state's pumping 6% or 5% something in there of state sales tax of new money generated. Is anything going up there yet? Last week I was with Glenn Clarida and we talked with Bruce Holland, and because as you know, we're getting ready to put $8 million out there in that interchange. Now we got to do that now, and I think we got to do that whether the star bonds develop out there or don't, because if we're going to develop that ground out there, we got to have those exits, the entrance and the exit. They've got to be there. But when this thing started, I told him, I said, I think we're looking at 50 million in the development out there of the city's part. Sewers, water, police protection, fire protection, new roads on it. Everybody, no, you're way too high. Well, the other night when they come to the table, we went already to 15 million they were looking for. You know, we haven't even got off the ground. So it just takes a lot of money, and without those TIFs and without that cash flow to make that possible, I don't see how you can develop at this speed on it. I mean, it don't matter what kind of taxing body you are, you've got to have the cash flow to make it happen. And if you want to see some good examples, look at Harrisburg. You know, look at Benton right now, what they're going through on that 15-inch sewer main that they can't get the bonds passed to do. And I mean, there's so many things that if the cash is not there, I mean, you're not going to do them, Gary. And I don't see how you do them without TIFs. I had a meeting with the school board, if you remember, at the library, got everybody together and tried to get everybody to learn. I had to go in and I met with 2 superintendents, past superintendents. I met with the controllers, and I met with Matt Donkins and to learn about school funding and how it works on it. And if you look at Marion, I mean, we're taxing, what are they levying it now at about 374, 375, 100. The year before that they were at 405. And I told Wade, I said, right. He said, well, we don't have enough money for education. I said, well, you grew to 144% in the last few years in your funds available. You went from like 9 million to over 18 million of funds available from right out of the market, and your education fund is not growing in relation to it. And he said, well, we're mandated, we're at the amount we can charge, which they are on several funds. Tort fund and transportation, they have no limit, but the others are all limited on the per 100 rate they can get. But I told him, I said, I think if you have a sellable story, instead of suing people, you go to the voters and sell the voters on why you need to raise the monies. Because they're saying they got $8 million coming from the TIF. Well, where does that $8 million come from? It's the plaintiff paying the bill for the defendant, and the defendant paying the bill for the plaintiff, the taxpayer. He's paying all the bills. So it's such foolishness, and to think that that lawsuit is going to rewrite TIF law when the bulk of the TIFs are in Cook County. You know, let's be realistic. This lawsuit's probably not going to settle for another 5 years. Time it goes to the Supreme Court, and you're not. Marion, Illinois, Unit 2 is not going to rewrite TIF laws. I mean, that's just not going to happen. And I've looked at that and read that, and I've got several opinions from different attorneys, and I honestly don't see where they're going. And they're going to get some monies out of this thing, because as these TIFs expires, which we got one that's getting ready to go out, as it expires, the excess fund goes back to all the taxing bodies. And you got to remember, Unit 2 is about, what, 65% of the taxes in Winston County? It's up there. Don't quote me exact. It's been a year now, or a year and a half since I done that meeting where I done all the studying to know these exact numbers. But it's considerable percent of the thing. I think they're number one, probably Logan's number two, and the city, we tax, I think, 37 cents per hundred rate, and that's for police and fire pension, and we're able to lower that this year because we had some grants available on that fire department, and we took that money and put it directly into that pension fund, and enabled us to lower our levies to about 35 cents per hundred rate on police and fire, which is the only tax we charge. Everything else we live off of sales tax as a basic revenue for the city of Marion.
That sales tax support, and it really is remarkable because Marion's a retail hub. Is that the right way to finance the city's operations, reliant on retail?
I think it's exactly the right way, because what happens is just like when we budgeted this year. We sit down with Steve, our treasurer, and we said, okay, Steve, what's our projection next year on sales tax? Flat. Okay, our budget's flat. Your department wants an extra 20%. Sorry, we'll review it, and we'll juggle the money around. We've got 40 million's a number. We're responsible for health, life, and safety. Now, we have some other things we do that are nice things. We contribute to the Civic Center. We contribute to the Senior Citizen Center. We contribute to Boyden Street. We contribute to the Youth Center. We do some nice things. Now, we support the library, which if we didn't, the library would have the ability to take 5% levy against the people in Marion, or their library district, to run the library, but we fund them through sales tax at a greater number than what they would be able to get charging you direct on it. So, do I think sales tax is the right thing? Yes, I do, because you live and die by it. If the number goes up, we'll spend more money. If the number goes down, we'll spend less money. We're not coming to you and saying, Gary, even though you don't have a job this year, we're going to tax you on your levy on your house, and you're either going to pay us or somebody going to own your house on it. And that's what, I think that's what's really wrong with school funding and with a lot of this funding that we're faced with. It all needs to be, we've moved forward as a society, and we're still operating on the things that were structured. We need to just start putting some brain power against this thing and figure out what we ought to do.
Let's go back to that TIF lawsuit again, which people in Marion love to talk about. Is it your contention that the city is in the right position, is in the right on this?
I don't see anything under the present TIF law other than some reporting functions that were our consultants' responsibility. The city hires professional people to manage these TIFs.